So this tutorial is to show you how to put in a zip. So this zip is a closed-ended zip, which means it wouldn't be any good for an anorak. And you can see the teeth on the outside, which means it is known as a dress zip or a trouser zip. It isn't an invisible zip. Okay, so whenever you put this zip in, you're going to see stitching on the outside. That's the good side of the zip, and this is the reverse side of the zip. Okay, this is the top of the zip or teeth here. Okay, and this is the top of the zipper tape. You normally have a little zigzag line, so there's about 1.5 centimeters difference here. This has got a metal stopper here, and also it's got a metal stopper at the bottom. We're also going to show you how to shorten this zip as well, just in case the zip that you have is too long for the project that you need it for. So I'm going to do that on the machine. First thing we're going to do is to make a seam. So the other thing that I've just got organised here is I've threaded up a needle and thread with a single thread. I've also got my zipper foot out, which is the zipper foot that you will need to put this zipper in. If you're putting an invisible zipper in, it's a different foot altogether. And I've also got a little packet of pins. I'm going to try and use the ones with the smaller heads on them. So rather than use these ones, I'm going to use these ones if I can. So I'm just going to get a couple of them out because they'll come in handy in a moment. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get my 2 pieces of fabric and make a seam. So I'm going to insert a zip into this piece of fabric here. Now at the minute, if you can see this, my zip is way too long for my fabric. Okay, so I'm going to need to shorten my zip. Okay, so because I want to show you how to make a proper seam and do this properly, I'm going to shorten the zip to here. Okay, so that's where I'm going to shorten the zip to. And on that occasion, I'm going to actually put a pin here so that I know that that's where that's going to get shortened to. Okay, and we'll come back and make our seam in the fabric in a moment. Okay, so over to the sewing machine, which I'm just going to lift over here. We've got our little placement for our pin. I'm going to take this out. Just put the pin here. Now, if this was a metal zip, I wouldn't do this. Okay, I'd do this by hand, but I'm happily aware that I can do this by machine. The other thing you would want to do is make sure that your needle is going to be strong enough, so maybe a size 12 or 14, not an 8 or a 10. Okay, we're just going to go forward and back. Okay, so what we're doing is we are recreating the stopper that is in the bottom. Now obviously I'm doing this in different colour of thread, you know, just to make it more obvious for you, but you'd want to be doing it in a suitable colour of thread. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is lift that out of the machine, lift the needle up, take it off, and then we're just going to cut the end of the zip. So now that we've sealed the zip, I'd be happy enough that we can cut it. So that's what I've done there. I've recreated this here. So you can see the difference of between the end of the original stopper and the end of the tape. There's about 1.25 centimeters. So again, I'm going to just cut this off. Okay, and then this can go in the bin. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is make a seam. So with the right sides of my fabric together, okay, so that's the right sides of my cloth together. So this is where the zip is going to get inserted. So for example, this could be the side seam in a skirt. So there's the top and there's the bottom. Make sure that your raw edges are even. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set your zip up here at the very top alongside. Now, so you're not going to set the zip on the fabric. I don't want you to do that just yet. So remember, these are the right sides together. So your pattern sides are together and you're looking at the wrong side of your cloth. Your lining the top of your fabric along with the top edge of your zip. I'll just show you that close up just so you can see. So that's what you're up to there. You don't want to have it up like this, all together, nice that. Grand. Okay, and then what you want to do is with your little pin that you had earlier, you're going to take where you've shortened your zip or where your stopper is. It might be glue, clear hard glue, or it might be a bit of metal. Please be careful if it's metal. And you want to put your pin here, but also put your pin over in your fabric. So that's only to give a guideline of where you need to start to sew your seam from here downwards. Okay, and so now we're going to stitch from this pin point down to the bottom end here. Okay, so from here to here we're going to do an open seam, and it's going to be 1.5 open seam. Okay, just get our little iron here ready, blast it up before we take the machine over. So I've just got my ordinaries fit on at the minute, just to do the 1.5 seam. My guides in this machine are 10 and 16, so I'm going to go with the 16 here, 16 mil. Okay, so what I'm just going to do first of all is just lower the foot down to where that pin is, okay? And once that's settled and once you have that held in place, then you can begin to lower the needle down. Okay, make sure it doesn't hit in with the metal of the pin, and then glide your pin out. Okay, so needle in completely, and make sure your stitch setting is at a correct size. You've already done that before you're even doing this anyhow. And you're going to go forward and back, forward and back. Now I would reinforce this area because it's going to be where lots of strain is. So for example, if it's a skirt, you know, you might be zipping it on and off to get on, so there may be a wee bit of strain. So reinforce it, and just on the reverse side of your fabric as well, sometimes you can put on some fusible interfacing. Get to the end of that little seam and reverse stitch there as well. Okay, so lift off and cut your threads side. Okay, so that's my seam done. White bobbin, blue top. Okay, so now we're just going to lift the sewing machine away, and what we're going to do here is prep up then for placing the zip in. So I'm sewing outside today. I'm using the Jackery, which is a great invention, and it means I'm just sitting here out in the sunlight. I can hardly see what I'm doing, but anyway, going for it. Okay, so we're now going to press our seam open. So just align, get everything prepped up. Remember, don't pick up your iron until everything is prepped up, because otherwise you'll just iron in a mistake. So this is the bottom here, and you're going to open it up like a book. So remember, it's an open seam, 1.5. Okay, so it's it there. Got my iron is all ready to go. So this is a lovely little travel iron. It's been absolutely fantastic. I think Lidl was actually doing a couple of them last week too, I heard. So giving that little press there right in the centre, which is great. Now what I do then is place this away. So place the top of it away, and make sure then that you're also pressing over 1.5 the whole way up here. Okay, if you need your tape measure to do this, then absolutely go ahead with your tape measure, but just make sure that that is nice and flat. Okay, I've also got a travel ironing board here, so if anybody is wanting to take their sewing machine or their ironing board up to maybe a caravan or something like that, then it's totally possible to do. You enjoy your sewing wherever you are. Okay, and then I'm just going to press up the other side to match, just making sure that that is 1.5 up the whole way, which it is. So once you've got it pressed on the underside, then turn it over and make sure then it's pressed on the good side, just to make sure it's nice and neat. Okay, so the iron can go off now. I don't need the iron anymore. It does take up a good little bit of power. So the next thing we're going to do is put the zip and pin the zip in place. Okay, so this is now the good side of your cloth, and you can label this left and right. Now, I don't have an overlocker here, but if you do want to neaten up your edges, you know, you would have done that before, you would have started, or else you can pink and shear it, but this is just your sample. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lift up our seam and our fabric that we've just made. We're going to set our fabric on top of our zip. Okay, so you've got a left side and you've got a right side. What I tend to do now is take the zip down. Okay, I'm going to pick up the right side of the fabric, and there is the fold that you've just pressed. What I do is I lay the fold up against the groove of the teeth of the fabric. Okay, and then I'm going to use a pin, and I'm going to pin in nice and close to here. Okay, so the pinning is going to hold it all in before I tack it with some thread, and the tacking is going to hold it in before I actually stitch it in. So this is what you're going to do. So you keep on doing it down the right hand side. So now I've come down to the end of the zip, and that's where it kind of gets quite awkward. So in this occasion then I also then tend to actually zip it up a wee bit. So I find these pins much easier to use than these ones, because the ball actually bumps your fabric about and can make it quite uneven. So really down one side, obviously depending on the length of the zip, but a 7-inch zip should really have only about 5 or 6 pins going down it. Okay, so I'm now pinned down one side. So this is what it looks like. That's really how close it is, so everything is nice and neat. If you pin too far away, then what will happen is that your zip will actually end up getting sewn in like that. So your pinning is extremely important. Okay, and just even, I completely understand that actually even how to learn and how to hold a pin and get it pinned in place is a new technique to use. Okay, so that's one side done. Now we're going to zip the zipper up again. And now this is called a lap zip. So what we actually want to do is make sure the second line ever so slightly laps over. So it's going to hide the whole zipper teeth and everything, and the zipper puller. So you want to lap it over ever so slightly. So that is basically going to be like that. It's taking this fold just ever so slightly over the other. Make sure that it's equally over the whole way, so that it's not crooked or anything like that. And then this is where you want to be pinning down this side. So this side you're going to pin about 1 centimetre away from the fold, so you're going to be over here. Okay, it does not matter which direction your pins go in, but as long as, you know, don't do them like this. It doesn't matter if they go in this direction or that direction, but as long as they are straight. And I'm supporting my fabric at the top and also at the bottom, and also just taking a little check to make sure everything's even. You can do this in the air, or else you can do it like flat down, but I kind of find even just doing this to like maneuver where your fabric is also helps. Okay, so I'm just kind of like walking my fingertips along here. And then up to the top. Now again, that zipper puller is going to get in an awkward position in a moment, so just going to pop that there for now. And then what I'm going to do is pull the zipper down, and then take a double check, because you want to make sure that whenever it's pulled up, whenever you have it pinned in, this bit is not away over here. You do want it to be still behind. So it's too big. So, you know, just make sure that you're not pinning over here and not pinning over there. Do check that it's in the right position. And that is off. So I'm going to just move that over ever so slightly. You can also pin it that way if you want. And the most important thing, that your pins are here before you tack it and then before you sew it. So I've just checked that that all is good. So the next thing you're going to do is thread up your needle and thread and get ready to tack all of this in. Okay, so I've just threaded up my needle and thread, and I'm going to hand tack from here the whole way across and back up. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start at this side here. It doesn't matter which side you start at, but if you start on the right side, then you want to be tacking really close to where the fold is. Okay, so it's a little back stitch there. And I keep my back stitch nice and small because it just makes life so much easier whenever you're actually coming to put your zipper in. So that's a back stitch. Then you're going to skip forward and keep your tacks nice and small. You're going to keep your tacks nice and small, about 1 centimetre long with a centimetre gap. And continue down. You can take your pins out as you go just so they don't get in the way for you as well. Okay, so that's really what your tacking is looking like. Okay, so I've come to this side and then I need to go across, so I'm just continuing there to tack till I get to the bottom of the zip, and the bottom of really where you have stopped and started your first seam. Then I'm going to go across to here, so I'm just going to go right across the zip, and then I'm going to go up this way here, so it means I'm going to tack up this way. So the second line of tacking, which is on your left side, then is wider. I would be putting it about 1 centimetre. The main thing is that you check it on the reverse side to make sure that you're tacking in both your zip onto your fabric. That is so important. If that doesn't happen, then your zip won't be in correctly. So just continue to do that. So you're now getting to you've now got to the end of that zip. So again, what you want to do is a nice little back stitch here. Okay, just to really secure that is honestly so important. So because this is your sample, I would keep your tacking in. Obviously your pins are all out at this stage because you're about then to get onto the sewing machine. Okay, so sewing machine is now brought over for us. Here we go. Now again, first thing we need to do is take off our original foot. And we want to place on our zipper foot. Okay, so you've got two options of which side that you want to go on, either this side or this side. I am going to go on to this side for a reason. So I am going to start stitching this in. So you're just on your normal size of stitch. I'm going to stitch in size 3. I'm going to zip my zipper down. Okay. Now I want to be stitching, if my seam is 1.5, okay, my original seam and my fold back here is 1.5. If I stitch anywhere beyond 1.5, then this won't get stitched. The zipper won't get stitched onto the seam. So I really want this to be 1 centimetre. My stitching in is going to be 1 centimetre. So I'm going to line this up with 10, which is 10 mil, which is 1 centimetre. Okay, and set this down. Okay. Lower down your needle and go. I'm going to do my stitches a wee bit bigger just so that you can see. Forward and back, okay. So my eye is here the whole way, 10. It's my guide. Now you can see that this is going to become pretty awkward in a second or two, so just be aware of that. Now that's probably as far as I can go without the zipper tape, without the zipper being a wee bit in the way. So I'm going to just do one more stitch by hand. And I just put the eye of the needle in and nothing more. So you want to make sure, because you've just lifted up a foot, you want to make sure beforehand that your needle is definitely in your work, and then pull your zipper up. Okay. Then the next thing I'm going to do is set that back down again. Now this is really just kind of you're eyeing this up and making sure that you are going to be in the right position. I'm going to do a corner turn here at the position where my seam was first made and closed, which is here. So lift up your foot, swing around, pivot, and then we're going to pop this back down again. Now sometimes you might just want to do this by hand, certainly if you have a metal zip. and if you're not even sure where your stopper is, so, or else even just hold on to your hand wheel as you do this, because it just means it'll take it slowly for you. So you can see there's resistance there because I've just hit the plastic. So one more little turn and we're already over on the other side. And then we're going to lift this up here and we're going to pivot around again. Okay, so we've made a nice little corner turn there. Then fold this back, okay? Fold back, and you want to get in as close as you can to the bottom. This is where the tacking has come in really important that you previously did. Now, so you don't need to worry about any guidelines now because you've actually got one to go by. So what I would do here is line up. Everybody's machine is going to be different. But if you line out the metal edge of the foot with the plastic teeth then, and stitch those two together. I also kind of use my fingertips to kind of keep squeezing those in. So right hand will be folding this back, left hand will be folding that in. You just don't need to rush this, because if you rush it you only end up having to rip it out, so don't be at it. Okay, so again, this is going to get in the way. I'm just going to keep this zipped up as as much as I can until I absolutely need to take it down. Okay, which will be very soon, like as in now. So again, just eye of the needle in, lift up, zip this way down, okay, and just actually like get rid of it all together. And then line this back up again. I'm using linen, so linen is very, fabric that moves a lot. So it kind of gets pushed out of the way a wee bit. And then up at the top and reverse. So because I did the tacks so small at the top and really did quite a few of them, that means that it was really quite easy to sew. Okay, so we're going to lift this off and raise that up. And obviously, again, I'm using a contrast fabric here, so it doesn't look just as neat as using the actual colour of fabric, but just to show you then the result. So this is the result. Zip up, zip down. Does it zip up and zip down? Then it works. Okay, take off your threads at the top. Now you'll see your gap there, okay, but don't worry about that, because whenever you're coming to put in a waistband, for example, then you're going to need this as a seam, and then once that waistband is on, that's going to hide all of that, okay. Grand. So there you go. You can see my stitching is a wee bit off there at the bottom. Again, that's just, the first one. So make sure you're practicing again, just to look at it. So you're nice and close on this side. And whenever you peel this back, everything's been caught in. Okay, just check it on the other side as well, just to make sure everything's been caught in. And folks, that is your zip, okay? And once you've mastered that, then you can be using that on trousers,